Live. Do it live.
Do it live.
Ooh, we're live on YouTube just as soon as this red bar goes up. Should be good. Hi. Okay. Oh yeah, I need to do that. Welcome everyone to another fantastic episode of Drawing Nature In. We are discussing definitions today and the relation with natural law. There's some definitely some key definitions that Joanna has collected of that are really important to understand if you really want to understand natural law. So that's our subject matter for the evening. Let me get this back on here so I can spotlight Jeff.
We're going to do a meditation first.
Yeah, of course, we're going to do our meditation. Let's switch my camera angle a little bit for that so you can see not that part of me. That's better.
Did you get your haircut?
A couple, like a week or two ago.
But you realized you're not, the camera's pointing not at the camera.
I realize I'm not looking straight at it, yes.
Okay.
20.
I do realize that.
Sweet. Oh, thank you. You know what?
What size is it? It's a medium.
So we could just go ahead, or because he's still.
Yeah, we can go ahead and start the meditation here. Guess I can go ahead and start it.
Go ahead.
We're going to do the similar kind of one we do with the heart-brain synchronization. So I'm going to... Everyone can start just taking some deep breaths. As I'm doing this, I'm also rubbing my chest. Just like a nice long deep breath in, nice long deep breath out. As I'm doing this, I'm imagining my consciousness synchronizing with my brain and my heart together. I might say something like, my consciousness is synchronizing with my heart and brain. My heart and brain are synchronized. And then I'll start thinking of situations of love and compassion and gratitude and try to put myself in that actual
What's
emotion.
it going to take for me to bring my tables down here? My tables, my turntables.
We'll figure something out.
Gonna go ahead and mute him for now since he's not participating in the meditation. Really try to immerse yourself in that feeling of compassion and love. That'll help move your consciousness into the heart. We're also going to ask the creator of the universe for guidance in our art making tonight, guidance in our subjects that we discussed as pertaining to definition, and we're also grateful for the world that the universe has created for us to live in. Go ahead and start coming out of this now.
I realized I forgot to send an invite to my friends at Autonomy after I told them I would, so I'm going to do that now.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I saw that you posted something there. So yeah,
So I'll go
good
do
thing you
that.
remembered that. Thank
Well,
you.
yeah, it came as guidance. You forgot. I was like, oh, thanks. Thanks for reminding me.
You forgot this important thing that you were supposed to do. What?
Yeah.
What was that? Oh my gosh.
Well,
Important.
that's how it comes in student events.
So my sister got creative the last few days, and she did these two paintings here. Just I figured I'd show
Wow.
people. This one's
Wow.
not finished yet. She's going to be adding some aspen trees in the foreground. Once this dries, probably going to take a while. And then she also did this, it's like kind of like an octopus thing. It looks kind of cool. And so she ripped those out in the last few days here. So thought I'd just share those real fast since we're a creative salon here, So I'm gonna just kind of finish up this painting I was working on last week. It's the one regarding consciousness and truth versus perception. Like if you're in truth, then you're more conscious. If you're not in truth, you're less conscious. And so like this wavelength is kind of like the flat straight line represents the truth. And then the line, these wave patterns represent either a high frequency or a lower frequency of consciousness. And as you can see, the higher frequency consciousness interacts with the line of truth more often than the lower frequency consciousness. So I was going to maybe write some words or in here just so people are clear as to what the lines mean as far as, and I might even change their color a little bit, but yeah, so that's what I've got going on today. Let me get Jeff back. Let's see here.
So what I'm doing today is I'm still working on the sigil, which is I have the inalienable right to make a living and keep the fruits of my labor. And I made this weird shaped thing that I'm going to make a big flower and I'm going to stick it in the middle.
Oh, nice.
Yep. I don't think I'm going to stick, I'm not sure. I might stick wires in this part at some point, but just for fun, but I don't know. I might just keep it simple. So, because even if it's simple, it's still going to be kind of complex. Because then this will go on here. I'll eventually glue that on there like that. Or I might redo it because I kind of don't like it that much. So I might do it over. Haven't decided yet.
Ah,
So let me know when you want me to talk about definitions.
yeah, whenever, I mean, if you want to do a little art first, you can, or if you want to jump right into some definitions, that's fine. I have a little thing here. Definition is just basically a statement of the exact meaning of a word. An exact statement or description of the nature, scope, or meaning of something.
Right.
Grade of distinctness or clarity of an object, image, or sound. Clarity of meaning in order to understand. So it's better to have the clarity of the meaning of words than to assume you understand the meaning of words.
But also, like the idea of definite, I found in Passio's transcript. So to make finite something that is infinite. So,
Right.
you know, if you think back to when, before we had language, we used sounds to express ourselves, and then we somehow letters got formed. I think they may have come from the same place as the monetary system because it's limiting. But regardless, here we are. So to make finite these ideas, a definition. So we like, I think the main point of that is that we've gotten to a point where we just pretend like we know what things mean and we really don't. And unless we have a agreed upon definition of something, we can't really communicate. If I have my own definition of a word and somebody else has their own definition, we're going to have a problem.
Maybe it's regional.
What could be a misunderstanding could arise from that too, you know?
Right, but there at one time we had dictionaries. People actually used the dictionary to find the definition.
I think people still do, but I think that there's been some changes to the dictionaries as well, which is interesting to note, you know. I mean, not changes as in, oh, we came up with a new word, so we're going to put it in there. Changes as in tweaking the way the definition is articulated within the dictionary.
Yes, that has happened. For example, the word happiness, when our Constitution was written and we were, given the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness used to mean well-being, and now it means it's attached to financial. It's attached to.
Like they put something in the like dictionary like happiness, having a great deal of financial wealth or something.
No, not like that. It means it's a little bit more subtle than that, but it says something like happiness is abundance or something like that, rather than it used to be simply about well-being and
the emotion of well-being.
So the pursuit of happiness used to be the pursuit of your well-being and the well-being of your neighbor, and now it's the pursuit of financial gain for hedonism. So that's one.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yes, it is so interesting, is it not? Yes.
Someday we'll probably get ourselves like a fact checker, like nerd, to come on here with us, and I can like look stuff up and
go. That's true. That's actually
go
true.
to the Wayback Machine. That would be kind of fun.
This is actually true. I know this from somewhere else.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that that's not a fact. I'm just saying that just popped into my head as something that could be kind of neat to have, you know, on here, you know.
Yep, I actually still have dictionaries that were from the 1800s. So.
Nice. What
You
did
can
you
still
do with
get
them?
on eBay? I don't know. I think
What did-
I lost them in a move or some crap. One of my crazy moves that I've made in my life. So yeah, I mean, I could go right into the definitions of natural law, but I was so fortunate to be on a Zoom call this morning with my co-workers, and they were talking about definitions of some really funny words. And I thought, I'm going to jot this down for tonight because it's really funny.
Nice.
And I'm going to it's pretty brazen. So I just want to warn you all.
Don't worry about me. I'm okay.
Okay. So they said that the word cunt, my favorite word, actually means divine feminine. And it used to be a word that existed as a compliment to, I don't know what years, but whatever. And so to be a weirdo, heretic, cunt actually meant one who directs his own fate, one who makes his own decisions, and is in alignment with the divine feminine.
And now it just means bitchy woman.
That
So
just means you're going to get your ass handed to you if you use that terminology. But weirdo,
Gotcha.
like weird means one who directs his own fate. Heretic is one who makes their own decisions, and cunt is the divine feminine. Isn't that funny? And they changed it.
which is interesting because like we were talking about this the other day, Joanna, when we were kind of talking about this, what we were going to talk about for this show and stuff. And you said that, or I brought up that inversion principle
Right.
of Satanism and how they like to take the meaning of things and invert it and make it the opposite.
Right.
And I think that's probably an example of that.
Exactly.
A real good example of that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And they don't only do that with definitions; they do it with all kinds of stuff. It's like one of their biggest thing is that inversion, satanic inversion.
Well, give an example of what you're talking about.
Like promoting transgender for instance.
Oh gosh, that nightmare. Oh yeah, I saw a Baphomet Barbie. I'm not sure if that's real or not, but I actually saw a Baphomet Barbie and drag queen Barbie.
And so
Jesus. I'm like, really? Is this real? How can that be real? How can that be?
I think actually even slavery is an example too, because they're taking a free sentient being and turning it into a slave.
Where? In what? What do you mean?
Just
in with regards
to slavery in general. Because we have it's an alienable right to not be a slave, right? And so as soon as you have a slave, that's an example of inversion on a sentient being.
Correct.
Which is probably way worse than just inversion of a meaning of a word.
Right. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. God. So
that would be an example. There's probably a bunch of other examples out there, or even just like I know for a while the slang term like bad, like ooh, whoa, I can't believe you landed that awesome skateboard trip. That's bad. Yeah. Well, actually, it was good, really. but then that's more of just like a slang thing. I don't know if that's really as much satanic inversion as some of the other things, like especially that one you talked about, that cunt one was pretty.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, they said. Yeah. I mean, the person said that it's actually a goddess. The name of a goddess, Kunti, comes from some, maybe Africa or something like that. Amazing. It's truly amazing to me.
Which would make sense if it comes from Africa, because they wanted to do everything possible to like demoralize those people, because a lot of the people from Africa were slaves for a long time. Overt slaves, not the covert slavery like we have now. This was,
Yeah,
I'm
but there's
talking
got to
more
be a
like
reason, because they must have really
overt.
been in touch with that something very divine if they had to do what they did to those people.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I just have this feeling about it. Like, if they just really go after people who are in touch, like that's why they had to annihilate the Native Americans so bad. Their whole culture, they had to annihilate it. Just because they were so free, so much freer.
I think there's some truth to that for sure, and part of that is definitely the fact that they just wanted things to be their way. So they're like, hey, it's going to be our way, and we're going to use violence, which I don't know if you have violence as one of your definitions in the list or not. But
let me see.
if not, that would.
No, I actually changed the list because I must be somewhere else, because I just read it right off the transcript, and the transcript pretty much stuck only to natural law and money.
Right.
But I remember writing these things down earlier this week, and I probably got that list somewhere here. Of course, the minute, like I had everything in order, and then I moved everything quickly because I felt like there was too much paper. And then I forgot. This is just my bad thinking. That I just moved everything. But I could probably find it. But well, you know, it's interesting because we're looking at some like it's almost like we don't even have a word for nonviolence that isn't pacifism in our in our dictionary. Like we don't have a word for not being dominated that doesn't imply rolling over, besides force. And that's another thing, you know, about definitions, is that they've taken these words like force and made force be as violence, but force is actually when you stand up to violence.
Well, force is actually just basically it also can be defined as like as an object in motion has force, right?
Right, but I mean,
or like if you're pressing heavily on something is kind of like force. Pressuring heavily on something is force. But like force to me is a less threatening word than violence, because force is just like you're forcing, whereas violence is you're actually violating something.
Right, but what is the word that would be the word that would mean in opposition to violence? That would be positive, and that would be force. But force has been misused to believe like they forced me to do something. See what I mean?
Right.
They've taken force and made it negative too, so that there's nothing. There's no word in the dictionary or in our language right now that I'm aware of that means to stand up to a bully.
Well, self-defense, but that's two words.
That's not a word. No, that's not a word though. I guess defense.
Well, defense is a word, but it doesn't mean stand up to authority. It just means like to defend, you know, to protect one's self, I guess would be that definition.
Right, but when I was looking in, like, you know, we're dealing with a lot of, we have to learn how to communicate in our groups. We're having some problems with that communication thing, because we have either people who want to be the ruler, or we have people who don't, who are too, they have no self-confidence to speak up. So we have to find a way to, in other words, we're going to use like something like formal consensus. And in formal consensus, there's principles we have to agree to, and one of them is non-violence. which it's like, why isn't there a word for that? Why isn't there a word that?
Yeah, why does it have to be 2 words?
Oh, well, why does it have to be the negative of violence? Non-violence. Why isn't there a word for standing
Well, isn't
up
there?
to an?
I think there is a word. I've just been racking my
What
brain
is
to
it?
find
Yeah,
it, but
find
I
it.
know what is it.
It doesn't. I think it's.
Well,
been
there's a
removed.
word. I would say a word that's kind of opposite of nonviolence would be love, but that's not, standing up against authority. I guess courage maybe would be, but courage wouldn't always be used for standing
Right.
up against authority.
Not the opposite of nonviolence. The opposite of violence. What they're saying is that they're using the term nonviolence in opposition to violence because there really isn't a good word for nonviolence. It's odd. It's interesting.
Well, other than love, but that might be
too
too
wishy-washy.
abstract for some people.
Yeah, because you have to be able in a group where someone is using a violent technique to take over the group, you have to be able to say, I mean, I'm going to say respect. That's what we're going to use. We're not going to use nonviolence because it's a ridiculous word that doesn't mean anything. We're going to use respect. So, interrupting, for example, is disrespectful. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas interrupting is a form of violence and a form of a way to control a group. You know what I mean? That's so, but it's still sort of not really adequate, I feel, because it feels like they have taken that language from us so that we don't even have a word for it.
Well, I know that they use a lot of times they use force instead of violence because force sounds less threatening than violence. Because violence implies you're violating something, whereas force just implies that you're forcing your, will on others because they're doing something bad. Like they justify it as, oh, we're going to force these bad terrorists out of, so we have to bomb this country or whatever.
Right, but there's nothing for us to use to.
Like it's almost like there's not a singular word that means non-violence. You have to put the non in front of it.
Yeah, nonviolence means the opposite.
I guess
of violence,
loving.
but it's a
I don't know. I would say loving is non-violence, right? The word loving.
No, but I mean, you want to be able to stand up. You need to be able to stand up for principle. It's not always love. It doesn't always seem loving to stand up for principle. It can be forceful. You know what I'm saying?
Can be forceful, and it can be maybe you have to be courageous, right? To stand up for.
Sometimes you might even have to shoot somebody who shot at you. But doesn't sound like love to me, but it is.
Well, that would be defense then.
That's
that would be
defense.
Yeah, that would be defense.
Yeah, it's just weird. To me, it's just not really that. It's like the word anarchy, for example, which means no rulers, not no rules.
Right.
And then
Right.
when they use it, they use it to say it's going to be chaos. They use that. But meanwhile, the opposite is true, because if you have so many rules, then you end up with chaos. See what I'm saying?
Well, I think they use it as like they're using it as they're saying it's no rules when it's really no rulers. And so chaos would mean there is no rules, right? But right. So they're saying if there's no rulers, then how can there be no rules? But that's not true, because there's already rules, which are natural laws built into the universe, right? These universal, unchangeable natural laws are the rules.
Right.
Humane?
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 Yeah, humane. Would be that would be definitely a good one for non-violent, or Because yeah, humane is you're treating someone respectfully or not in a manner that's going to harm them, you know, like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't think we're taught. I think especially now we're being taught to not stand up to the bully. Go tell someone, tell the authority if you're being bullied or something like that. So there's no real words, you know what I mean, for that.
Yeah, they want people to just bow down to authorities, and if they're in trouble, they want the authorities to sort it out. They don't want people sorting things out on their own, which is how it should be. People should just sort things out on their own terms, and you know, that's how it should work, I think, you know.
Yep. So yeah, that's something that came up for me.
It doesn't seem like that's the way it's really working.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm in the freedom movement, so we are duking it out with each other now. We're like having an experience with it because there's people in the freedom movement who in my groups that are, you know, very bullyish, and they're very good at what they do, but we have to be egalitarian. We have to be equal. We have to model that behavior. We can't just create and what we could consider something free using tyranny. You know what I mean? You can't because the ends just doesn't justify the means. You can't do it that way. You have to do it in the new way. If you want something new, you have to do it in the new way. And so there's these people who like to bully and like to be in control, and it's interesting. It's just an interesting experience. I'll just say that.
Freedom or liberty?
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely non-violent terms for sure. Those are great ones.
So if there were other people watching this right now, would you know?
Yeah. And no one else is watching it right now.
I'm not surprised, but just checking.
Someday.
That's okay. Someday.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We've hardly done any marketing on this thing yet, so
yeah,
we're still gonna start doing that. Joanna did a little bit of marketing on it today in the autonomy community.
Just very, but yeah, I mean, Woody had a death in the family, so he's
sorry, Woody.
Occupied.
Now, my dad passed away about a month ago, and we've been dealing with that. And I just had family in town, and they just left town, and that brings up something like really crazy because like,
okay,
so like my uncle and his boys were here, and like the day after my uncle got here, he was feeling a little bit under the weather, so he got a test. He went and bought a test that Target, and he tested positive, so he like didn't come to the memorial thing, and he felt like all bad, and it's like, of course it's my uncle that's like the most helpful one, and he still was able to hang out with us and stuff because I was just like, yo, I don't care at all, like you can
it's just a cold.
Yeah, so I mean it just made me like after like I had a couple too many barley sodas or whatever,
Yeah.
So we're calling them now barley sodas. Sorry, that's really good, Woody. That's good, barley soda. Yeah. So what happened after that?
Which is actually beer. We'll just call it what it really is, beer, right?
There you go.
The real definition, right?
Hops.
Had too many? What happened?
So, but yeah, anyways, I got home and I was just like thinking about like the whole COVID stuff and how people are like literally missing, not going to like a memorial because of like a positive test and stuff like that. And it like made me cry a little bit because my uncle like was really wanted to come and stuff, you know.
Obviously, he came in from out of town. Where did he come from?
Boston area.
Oh man, he came all the way from Boston, and then he couldn't. And this was your father's brother?
No, it's my mom's brother.
Well, in any event,
Non-violence resistance, but that's 3 words.
And I was like sitting there telling him, I'm like, dude, just come, like just wear a mask. Like that, the CDC says if you wear a mask, it's okay. So I was like, just come. And he was like, I guess one of my aunts is like super like freaked out. And so like, he's like, no, like, I don't want to make your aunt like not come because I came, you know,
this is
words
so
out
insane.
that I have the thing. That's what I mean. That's why I was like crying about it the other night. I was just like,
it's hard.
like, you know, and I had to like my sister was like, oh, you have to do a live Zoom thing of this thing. And I didn't really want to do that, but I ended up doing it when I found out my uncle's not coming that came here from Boston. I'm like, all right, well, since he can't come, then I'm doing the live Zoom thing. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Because she was like, you should do it for the people who didn't come. And I'm like, I don't care about those people. They didn't come. You know, why should I cater to those people? But since my uncle like that came, was missing it, you know, because he's trying to be, you know, politically correct with the status quo, you know. And but anyways, I don't know. I was kind of emotional about that.
Oh my God.
After the fact, and I was at home and I was just sitting thinking about everything.
Dude, I hear you. It's so awful. It's just, I mean, I'm pretty like sheltered from it now because I don't interact with anybody from out there. I never really hardly ever see anybody from out there, hardly. Somehow.
You mean out in the world?
Yeah, I just see only freedom people pretty much.
Well,
unless I go to the store.
I see them. I
bet you're in the gallery, for God's sake, right?
Yeah. I sold a shirt to that guy who came through.
Just now?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. You're good.
Sold one of my sculptures on Saturday to mother-son travelers from Texas, from Sweetwater.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
For you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that much. And I'm happy. The kid is really cool. He's going to college next year. And he's very with it. I was impressed with him. He wants to be an English major.
Wow.
Probably be a teacher.
Wow.
So who knows?
Hopefully he'll be a screen play writer for the freedom movement.
Oh, man, that is something that comes across my mental screen quite a bit. Like, Richard and his crew or somebody should write a fucking screenplay for a movie.
Like
usually
what? About what?
About what we're talking about. I mean,
all
it
this
could
shit?
be.
You mean like
all this shit? Yeah.
You mean like a story, kind of?
Yeah, like a story, like it's fiction, but it's based on, facts, the truth.
Are we ready for that yet?
Well, you are. I am.
Yeah.
Woody is.
I mean, I used to think Bootsy should, like we had this one dude, Bootsy Greenwood. He was in our season 5, and he was a comedian, and he was lost. Like he couldn't figure out what to do. And I'm like, just get up there and talk about what's actually going on. That would be hilarious. Yeah. Right there, you could just do the Stephen Wright, stand there and talk about what's really going on, and we would all roll because it's so funny. It's horrible. We definitely need to laugh about it, but like in terms of, I mean, don't you think a lot of films have been written already about it?
There has been, yeah. I would say there's films that touch on it or have. There definitely is. Not
about this particular scam, but like how to write a film about the scam where, see, the thing about this that's so crazy is that no one is not experiencing it. That's what's so crazy about it. Usually you tell a story to people about something that they haven't experienced, but everyone is experiencing this. And now we have this new thing where people, they say, well, before COVID and after COVID. I'm just like, oh God, no.
I know I find myself doing that
I
too.
won't do it. I won't say that.
I don't think much about it, but I do it. Yeah, that was before COVID.
Pre-COVID. I was just like, oh Lord.
I agree.
Which, like, that's even a thing because coronavirus itself has been around for like since times immemorial. You know.
You know, we could even talk about those definitions. Like the word corona actually means it's the light of the sun that is shining through an eclipse, around the eclipse. Which is what made me know that the cult of the black sun was behind this thing, because of that word they used. That was one of their signature. The black sun, which is the Saturnian cult. They worship Saturn, which is the great limiter. Yeah. Which right there is so crazy that they would worship a planet, the planet Saturn, which is, you know, in astrology is the planet of limitation, because they want to be the limiters. Ugh.
Right. Well, like you get into like Dave Ike's, some of his work, and he'll get into like all the, like, he believes, I don't know if he still has this stance, but there's like some signal coming from Saturn that's actually from the aliens or something that are trying to control us.
Probably. I don't know. I mean, I just know Saturn is the planet of limitation.
So I have some good definitions here too.
Okay, go ahead.
As far as staying on subject for defining things.
Before I go off into astrology, go ahead. Fine. Another time.
We're back.
Natural. Since we're talking about natural law, inherent, having a basis in nature, reality, and truth, not made or created by humankind. And then law, an existing condition which is binding and immutable, cannot be changed. So those are, you know, that's pretty direct. You know, when you say the terms natural law, that's like, it's not, you know, we're not talking about a religion like, oh, we're part of the natural law religion. No, it's not a religion. It's the way the reality's created. Natural law, a natural law could be gravity, but other natural laws are like behavioral laws that are, you know, in place that are collectively judged on the behavior of sentient beings as a collective, and the resulting states are either slavery or freedom based off of the collective behavior of the humanity or whatever sentient being you're talking about.
Right. Well, so gravity is a law. And I think what the example I think Mark gave was that if you took your kid for a picnic and your kid wandered off and fell off a cliff, gravity, being a natural law, doesn't care that your child got too close to the edge.
Right. It's unbiased. It's like if you think of like a computer game and the simulation that the game, the characters in the game follow, is like those are the laws of the game, basically, you know. Whereas in this reality we're in, there's nature, and it doesn't, and your belief is irrelevant to some of these laws. Like, just because you don't believe you're going to fall off a cliff doesn't mean that gravity is not going to take you down if you fall off a cliff.
Right. It just is.
Yeah, it just is. I mean, that's so funny because I have this friend who's extremely self-willed, and he said there is no free will because I can't fly if I walk out the window. I'm just like, dude, you're lost.
Nope.
No, that's just a law of this place. I have free will within the confines of natural law. So think.
But is that an example? Like, okay, I could, if like free will, I can jump off this cliff and fly or die. That's not really a free will choice.
Right, but that's what he was saying.
The choice
Pretty
is
stupid
like,
choice.
I'm gonna stay on the rock here and I'm gonna live, or I'm gonna make the free will decision to erroneously believe that I can fly and jump off the cliff and die. You know?
Right. I understand what you're saying. Yours is a more rational approach. He was saying that there is no such thing as free will because he can't violate natural law. I was just like,
right.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. That's kind of an atheistic point of view. In a way, like, or a nihilistic point of view.
Right. Yeah.
That I should be able to do whatever the hell I want, as solipsistic or whatever. Even though laws are in place. So therefore there should be no laws in place or whatever. It's just fucking funny. It was
Right.
funny. I thought it was funny.
Laws are man's laws.
Well, no, but not all. No, but the law of gravity is not man's law.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying laws, like written laws,
Written laws, sure.
are man's laws, or
Right,
human
they're
laws.
arbitrary and can change.
And they arbitrary and they
The
change.
whim. Yeah,
Often.
like pot used to be illegal and now it's not.
Well, it still is, depending on where you go. That's the other problem with it. It's not universal. Like natural law is universal, meaning it's everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. It's a universal truth, right?
Right.
Well, we have free will to go to another state if we want to.
Yeah.
So far,
Well,
we can
yeah,
still
so
do
far. Still
But we
have
have
that.
to be careful when we get there because the laws are different.
Exactly.
Because it's not absolute. It's relative to where you are, which in natural law it doesn't matter where you are. It's absolute no matter where you go.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, another definition I pulled up here is consciousness, the ability of a being to recognize patterns and meaning with respect to events taking place, both within oneself and in the realm in which the self exists and operates. I think that's an important thing to understand as well, that definition of what consciousness is.
Say that again. Say what it is again.
Okay. The ability of a being to recognize patterns and meaning with respect to events taking place, both within oneself and in the realm in which the self exists and operates.
Okay.
So that, definitely want to have an understanding of that if you want to have a high level of consciousness.
Well, can you rephrase that somehow? You think?
Consciousness?
Yeah.
That's basically just saying like having a deep understanding of your internal self and your external self within, and the operating laws which are in effect in our universe or on this planet, so the more natural laws you recognize and understand, the more conscious you are. The less natural laws you understand and recognize, the less conscious you are on that one aspect of it. Whereas, or like the more self-control you have on your internal emotions and thoughts, which are going to lead to your actions, the higher your consciousness is as well, because you're not going to spin out of control into perception or unconsciousness, and if you have good, if you have a good inner understanding.
How many natural laws are there?
Depends on, I guess, how, what you're defining as natural laws. There's a lot. I mean, there's the laws of thermodynamics. There's a lot, but there's, the one we mainly concentrate on is just like the behavioral human situation, of the effects of human behavior on, our world, and the problems, we're having in the world, and how one person at a time, the more in line we are with truth and love, the better the planet's going to get.
So, but to answer your question, I would say 7. There's 7. So they are the 7 Hermetic principles that are outlined in the Kabbalion, starting with mentalism is the first law, that the all is mental. And then the second one, I think, is the law of correspondence, as within, so without, and as above, so below. And the third one is probably maybe the law of polarity, which is the two extremes, and that they always are relative in a way.
Like a lot of things have their opposites, like temperature has polarity, or, truth or love versus fear. There's a polarity there. Or even just love by itself has polarity, because there's different degrees of love, like you're going to love your next door neighbor slightly different than you're going to love your wife. Hopefully.
Oh, you're so funny. And then the fourth one is maybe the law of vibration, which is that everything vibrates in the universe, which is what Woody's painting right now.
Mentalism, painting. Correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, gender. So those are the 7.
Mm.
And then Passio added in the 8th lost law of care, of where you actually care about. I don't think
this is the generative principle, because if you care, when you care, you express yourself differently in our reality than you do if you don't care. And that's why whether you care or not basically is like whether you care about being moral or not. And so if you care and you're moral, you live in accordance to natural behavioral law, then you generate freedom. If you don't care and you're immoral, you generate, slavery underneath a blanket of authority. That makes sense.
I do. I like it.
Have you heard of the Kabbalion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not studied it, but
it's very difficult, but it's very good for.
It's really awesome.
Stuff. It's it's the kind of thing that you pick up over and over and learn more about, and then try to apply it. Because I think Tesla used these laws for a lot of the stuff that he invented. The law of vibration and the law of rhythm was basically Tesla's whole body of work was based on those two principles.
Well, and yeah, a lot of the, like, even gravity itself is, you know, could be considered like something that has polarity, because there's different types of gravity, you know, within our universe, you know, like the moon supposedly has less gravity, so you like can jump really high and stuff if you go on it. And so that, you know, these things have some polarity in some situations based on the, you know, natural conditions of the area you're at, you know.
But the things that affect us the most are the law of cause and effect. I don't know where did you mention the law of cause and effect?
Yeah. I said cause and effect. We didn't really talk about it. So
yeah, the law of cause and effect is like the most relevant, the one that we see the most, as well as, I would say, as above, so below, because you can see everything in the microcosm happening in the macrocosm. Like, that's the best way to learn, is to look at the microcosm, and then you'll know the macrocosm.
yeah, because that's the part of the law of correspondence: as above, so below. As below, so above. And they but like, that's, you know, the causal things that are happening in the microcosm that are causing effects will happen in the macrocosm as well.
So all this is discussed in the Kabbalion, but
we have like future shows that we're going to spend like an entire show on just cause and effect. And we're going to spend an entire show just on every single one of those principles.
Yeah, we probably could spend like a year on each one if we really wanted to. You know what I mean? But I mean, still, it's like very interesting.
For sure.
I mean, just like take the law of gender like they're attacking the law of gender right now. So, you know, there is basically the law of gender is that everything has a male and female on Earth.
Right.
Everything here has both male and female. You can't just be one or the other. But they're making it like into a thing where it's like, yeah, and so what?
And they're also making it like it's a free will thing, like, oh, you can change your gender anytime you want.
Yeah, fucking ridiculous.
So fucked up.
Oh,
which to me, that's more of just like a perversion. You're like, I mean, it's like sex feels good no matter what, pretty much, you know.
Except after you cut off your dick,
really rough.
And I doubt it feels that great.
Yeah, well, not that kind, but yeah.
Sorry, guys, but I
no, you're right. I mean, because you're getting rid of those sensory apparatus. You know, I don't know if that's something that they can move in the operation and put it in your new
cunt.
Your new cunt. Your fresh cunt.
Yeah. Are they moving those sensory apparatus around? I mean, that just seems kind of weird. I don't know if that doesn't almost seem possible, but maybe it is.
It can't be. See, this is all man-made.
Get that G spot. Put it right there. Yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, it's impossible.
I want someone to be able to reach that.
Oh, you're funny. Yeah, I mean, this is like so insane.
It is so insane.
So insane. Like, oh my God, so crazy.
It is so far from normal.
It's so far from the truth.
So far from the truth, yes.
It's so far from the truth. Yeah, it's amazing that we're here and doing this right now. But see, yeah, I don't really see that. I don't have children, so I don't have to be subjected to this crap much.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you have to deal with it, right, Woody? Do you have to deal with this shit? Have you had to deal with any of this crap yet?
No, my kids are like, thankfully they're young enough that they're not really like getting into like thinking
but those people at school aren't messing with them yet?
I don't know, not that I know of.
Oh,
I mean, you know, it's funny because
my people are rolling in.
because my friend has a 12-year-old in Frederick, and she said he came home from school recently and said that one of his closest friends at school is transgender, or referred to them as something.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
How that distinction can be made at that age.
I know, it's insane. It's truly insane.
You guys just carry on.
We'll carry on, and you guys
Sounds
carry
good.
on.
Yeah, if you guys want to pop in,
Yeah. Okay.
why don't you go ahead and mute your mic for a little while?
It's a
We'll
deal.
continue our discussion. If you want to turn it back on when you guys are doing some performance practice, more than welcome to.
So anyway, yeah. So I can't remember exactly, but he had some term that he told my friend, and she's like, I don't know what that is, but he knew what it was. Her 12-year-old. I can't remember what it was right now.
Right.
Transgender.
I don't know. I mean, like, how can you even know at that age? I mean, like,
no,
you'd think you'd want to have like sexual intercourse, you know, with someone of the opposite sex before you decide what gender you're going to be.
Oh God.
You know, I mean, maybe that's what 12-year-olds are doing these days. But I know when I was 12, I was not thinking about.
Her son wasn't into it, but the other person was a girl. It was a girl who was like tranny, going tranny.
Huh.
I don't know if it was real. It probably could be a call for help, you know, because the family is totally messed up and the kid, you know, needs some help, and so they are, you know what I mean, are simply seeking help through that mechanism.
Right.
But yeah, you know, it's just really bad.
Sorry if there's some background noise. I had some people walking through here.
Children. So those were nice paintings your sister did.
Yeah. Yeah, she's quite the artist actually. So, I mean, she didn't go to school for art like I did, but that doesn't make her any less of an artist than me. You know.
Uh-huh.
It, you know, in some ways that's actually probably a good thing because she's not as confined by the stuff they taught us in school.
Oh yeah, she doesn't have
it's as to how to do art and stuff.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep. Now I don't know. I went to art school. To me, art school was just fun. It was just fun.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah, it was way fun. I had such a blast in art school.
I had a blast. It was just a way to have a good time for a period of time. That's all it was. I didn't really learn anything that much. I mean, they basically used they used the Betty Edwards drawing thing. So it wasn't anything new. I guess I learned, I don't know, illustration.
Oh, you got to practice a lot. I learned like probably the media stuff I learned when I was in art school was just like how to use some of the computer softwares that are related to art.
Oh yeah.
Practices.
Right. There wasn't any of that when I was in art school.
Right.
I'm old. Remember, I'm an elderly version.
Right.
So yeah.
Not that old.
Yeah. Well, it came like it was pretty quick. Like I remember being told that I was gonna have to learn Illustrator, and I was like, "Screw you! I'm not learning it." And of course, I didn't learn it, and it bit me in the ass. But oh well.
Right.
I'm not a commercial artist anyway. It doesn't matter. But yeah, back to the other definitions was money, the one I, which has been corrupted, but the one I obviously is like they use it in a dollar bill, and that's the surveillance state, but it really means spiritual enlightenment, but they've co-opted it to mean that money is the key to spiritual enlightenment, which we know is bullshit. But that's that part of that's the system. run on money, right?
Yeah. One eye,
Mon-
watching everyone. That's why they have that all-seeing eye symbol on the dollar bill.
Exactly, watching everyone, and that's what. Oh yeah, well we shouldn't, let's not forget government. Government, govern.
But yeah, I can pull that one. Let me just. I think I should be able to find it here, unless you have it.
Oh no, I wrote these down, but then I lost that because when I found the transcripts, I just sort of abdicated to the transcript, which didn't really.
Sorry, there's a lot of chaos going on behind me right
Fine.
now.
Go ahead, do what you gotta do.
But I'll get that pulled off here in a second.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna try and find that piece of paper that I wrote all that stuff on before I put it in a pile of papers. Oops. I like that painting.
Moving slowly on it right now, kind of. I could look at this one. What's this? Solipsism. From the Latin objective solus, alone, and the Latin pronoun ipsi, self. The ideology that only one's own mind is sure to exist. Solipsists contend that knowledge of anything outside one's own mind in the universe, hence there is no such thing as objective truth, and nothing about the external world and its workings can actually be known, which is
Crazy.
Complete gibberish or complete nonsense. But there's a lot of solipsism going on out there right now.
Right, exactly. That is like the most scary. That's really terrifying. In fact, I know somebody like that who really believes that.
And actually, remember that argument that happened in autonomy, that Leah kind of got herself into
with Ryan.
Yeah, and that dude was basically kind of taking a solipsistic approach from what I was reading, because he was basically saying everything is subjective, even natural law.
Yeah, we should actually not name names on here, but yes.
Well, yeah, I was trying not to. So, but.
Yes, but I mean, and somehow he stayed in the course, and it's weird because he is a very spiritual person, actually.
No, I'm just saying that was an example of where someone had a kind of a solipsistic stance, of subjectivity when it comes to some of this stuff.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, and that was what caused the problem was, what the heck are you doing here, dude? But maybe he learned something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that just saying the whole world is an illusion. That whole idea that the world is an illusion is solipsistic. I mean, it may be true. It may be true, whatever, but who cares? Because we're not living that. So good luck trying to live that. I mean, it's a great way to give yourself the excuse to do whatever the hell you want and think you're getting away with it.
Well, if the whole world is an illusion, this will just postulate. And that being said, though, the illusion has natural laws.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't. These are the laws of the illusion. Then it doesn't matter, and that's what's so hilarious to me about creating a metaverse. that they think that they can create their own laws of the metaverse, but ultimately, natural law is going to govern that too because it's here. So good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to do that. I mean, maybe they know that and they just are going to do that. They're going to convince us. They think they're going to convince us that there's only man's law in the metaverse.
Well, if you plug yourself into the metaverse, then whatever happens on planet Earth could happen to your body too. So if there's like a tidal wave hits your warehouse where your body is lying plugged into the matrix, you're gonna, everyone in that warehouse that gets hit by that tidal wave is not gonna know what hits them, and they're gonna just drown, and then their whole they're just gonna blink out of the VR simulation that they're plugged into. You know.
Yeah, so
but maybe the ideas of the powers that be are like, well, if everyone's in a VR, then it's easier to control. Everyone's easier to feed because you just have like feeding tubes going to everyone, and
so gross. You know, but so
like,
interesting because we would rather do that.
Maybe there's not going to be as much. But then who feeds you, right?
The machine, man. The brain, the main brain.
What's putting the food into the machine?
I don't know.
You know, more machines.
Probably. I don't really
But yeah,
know.
but then like if you have everyone in the simulation, then you have control of everyone, because if you're the controller of the simulation, then
I mean, I don't think
you're
that's
basically
gonna
God
last
at that point.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? That's the point. They want to be God.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
That is the point of their shenanigans.
Oh my God. It's so crazy.
I diversed. I was
Yeah,
trying to find that definition of government, and I found the solar system one first, which is fine.
Well, so it's gubernare and ment. So gubernare is to govern, or to is mind, or what? Mind? No.
Well, it basically means government. Basically means mind control.
Yeah, go to govern, to control, and ment is mind. Which is amazing that they've gotten away with that. You'd think people of older times would have called it something else. But that makes you think, oh, was George Washington in on this whole thing? I mean, you don't know. It's weird. It's like, how could they?
Yeah, so government, from the Latin verb gubernare, to control, and the Latin noun mens, mind. To control mind is what it means. Mind control.
That's crazy. It's fucking crazy. Like, why would they go with that word? It's just amazing to me that they would use that word. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I think it's a good idea. We have limited mind control. What? No, I don't want any mind control.
Yeah, I mean, and then it says here the etymological origin of the English suffix "ment" is often debated, yet is overwhelmingly clear that those who created the English language deliberately chose mens, the Latin word for mind, to mean the state of or the condition of, in direct keeping with the first principle of natural law, the principle of mentalism, which demonstrates that in order for any particular thing, event, circumstance, state, or condition to exist as it currently does in our manifest reality, the plane of effects, it must first have existed in mind, the plane of causality.
That's
Wow,
pretty
that's
interesting.
where the hell did
And-
you get the? Where did you get this
And that's
from?
from government, so government to
what are you
control
using?
mind. So mentalism is mind, right? So that's
Yeah.
the number one unifying law that we were just talking about in the 7 laws of the Hermetic teachings. And so if you control mind, it's saying that
You control effect.
the mind is where is the cause, is the plane of effects, and we're
It's the plane of
wait,
cause. So
yeah,
mind
of
is
the plane of cause, yeah.
and we are the effect.
Yeah.
What are you reading out of?
It's just the natural law seminar stuff.
Oh, are you? Oh, did that come? Oh, wow, I didn't get that much into it.
It's way later in the thing, and we're going to have
Oh.
an episode completely dedicated to this.
That is amazing. That's an amazing. I didn't even really put that together. That's amazing.
So yeah, it's like basically, the effect is the state or the condition of our existing reality, but the causal factors come from the mind, which is the plane of causality. And so, but there's different levels of mind, because there's like the universe mind, so the whole universe itself is mind. All is mind, all is mental. Okay. And so that being said, if you control mind, then you control the universe. And that's why government it's like a redundant control system that's man-made outside of the laws that already exist within the constraints of the universe as it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's redundant because we don't need it, but they want to replace God as the controller. They'd rather have it be redundant than try to follow it. And that's kind of interesting because that's what we're currently up against right now in the freedom community. We're experiencing this thing where people want to be told what to do. They want a ruler, and we're like, but then they get pissed off. Like they want it both ways. They want their cake and eat it too. They want somebody to tell them what to do. They want a leader, they want somebody to do PMAs. They want me to be the one who brings PMAs to the whatever. But then they don't want somebody telling them what to do. So it's like you can't have it both ways. You got to if you want to be free, you have to have the inner monarchy. You have to rule the inner monarchy. If you want to be a ruled, then you got it right now. This is what it is right here. So why is there a freedom community? It's not. And so we're up against it right now because we have to. My friend and I, this person I met who's I met him at the ham radio class really, and he's experiencing it like. People who come in and they're like, oh, well, they're the administrator of a group and they say, well, everybody has to come to Jesus now. And we're like, no, that's not what we're doing here. We're not doing the come to Jesus. We're here for freedom. And so then people, instead of somehow having the patience to establish a set of principles by which we run a group, and then saying, okay, you're behaving badly by trying to force us to your religion. Instead, they just split off and form another group and leave that person out. You can't keep doing that because you're going to end up alone on this planet. You know what I'm saying? Sure. So it's like we're up against the thing we've always been up against that we haven't been willing to figure out how to deal with, how to learn how to get along with each other. And there is a way that was created in the 70s or in the 60s called formal consensus, which is a way to for a group to agree to certain principles including respect or whatever nonviolence you want to call it. And then, and then when somebody there's a facilitator that doesn't participate in the decision making, but facilitates the activities of the group's meeting. And then if there is a person that like keeps interrupting or whatever, the facilitator will say, that's disrespectful, and we've agreed to be respectful. It's one of the principles. So you're obviously acting out of line right now. So what's going on? And then
integrity,
and then you give them that one chance, and then they do it again. You say, okay, maybe you just can't handle this agenda item today, so you need to be quiet. And then the person keeps interrupting, so then you have to say, okay, well, I guess you just can't be in the meeting today. You got to go. But we haven't had anyone willing to be the facilitator, allow the group to, because then sometimes it can take literally 3 days to come to consensus sometimes. So they're saying, oh, that's not practical. I'm like, well, you're either going to have tyranny and have it be practical, because tyranny is practical, or you're going to have consensus, one or the other.
And with sometimes being in a hurry is not a good thing either.
Not good.
Why do you have to be in a hurry and have this tyrannical thing when we can just take a couple extra days and have a free thing,
Yeah, right. Yeah, so then you get 362 days of freedom for 3 days of the but it's not every time. Sometimes you can get through a meeting without any difficulty. That's just sometimes you have difficulty. But there's people that don't want to think for themselves. They want somebody to rule them, and they want to pretend like they want to be free, but they really want to stay in that limbo place. So we're going through that experience right now, where we're realizing, okay, we can't keep kicking people out and running away from them. We have to implement something that may require patience, which of course nobody wants to do anything that requires
sometimes
patience.
With the consensus, people are going to have some there's going to be some compromise sometimes in certain areas, and for agreements to be made,
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's not always compromise. See, what happens with a group that's so amazing, this is where the creator comes in, is that when you're discussing something, ideas come in that you never would have come up with on your own, that is best for all. And it's not necessarily a compromise at all. It's more like it's creative because the group itself, the presence of those beings in that experience is what brings on the creative solution for everyone. But the people who are like tyrannical, like I have this friend who's totally a tyrannical bully, hung up on me this afternoon because I wouldn't back down. I mean, she just wanted to convince me. She wanted me to say, you're right. Let's do it your way. I'm like, do whatever you want. I'm not going to try to stop you. That's not what she wanted to hear. She wanted me to say, you're right. Let's do it your way. And I just wouldn't. So she hung up on me. I'm like, okay, whatever you want. That's fine. You're not done trying to rule the world. You think, and this is the biggest, I saw a quote by someone, I don't know who it was, that said, the people who want to change the world are the people who just want to rule it. And so that's a big impediment that we have to pay attention to, that we don't just recreate the system that we are trying to get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very interesting.
That kind of brings us to jurisdiction. That's another definition I found here.
Awesome.
And jurisdiction, what does that mean to you, Joanna, without looking at the actual definition?
Jurisdiction means my space, the space that I have power over, I believe.
Okay, well, let's go see here. Okay, jurisdiction, which can be assessed as something in authority before I go into this. And so this jurisdiction, it comes from the Latin noun jus or juris,
Juris.
which means law, and the Latin verb dictere, which means to speak, to say. Thus, jurisdiction literally means to say what the law is, which is
Natural law.
basically well, no, it's not natural law. That's humans saying what law is versus
okay.
natural law, which is, I guess you could say, God or the universe saying what law is. So I guess there are jurisdictions within natural law, like in the sense that when you're on the moon, gravity, the jurisdiction of gravity is different than the jurisdiction of gravity here on Earth. But as far as behavior is concerned, I don't think that. I think that the unseen behavioral law exists the same on Earth as it does in the moon.
In other words, that word doesn't have any place. We don't need a word like
jurisdiction has completely been skewed because it's just like, I would have said the exact same thing you said if you asked me the question, what would you say jurisdiction means, which was basically like the area, where I am, it's a jurisdiction. Like you could consider like counties and man-made law counties are like different jurisdictions, which really just probably means this is in this county, the jurisdiction speaks these laws, which is subjective in man-made law.
Right. We don't need that word really, unless it doesn't really mean anything if you don't have man-made law, right? Isn't that jurisdiction is part of man-made law?
It's an illusion. It's a man-made thing. It's illusory. So it's like, authority, ultimately, authority is the idea that man can become God, and thus jurisdiction dictate the law, and thus through jurisdiction can dictate the law.
Right.
And then there's, religion, from the Latin verb regulare, to tie back, to hold back, to thwart, forward progression, to bind. A system of control based on unchallenged dogmatic belief which holds back the progress of consciousness. Religion.
Isn't that funny?
Right?
Right, because religion is supposed to be something that connects you to the divine. But really, you can just connect yourself to the divine. You don't need, like, the intermediary of the minister person. And I've had some pretty nasty experiences with ministers, I'll say right now. Wow.
Right.
I wouldn't want them to be the intermediary for me with the divine. Thanks. I'll take my chances with my connection.
Right?
Heck yeah. We just lost Kurt's brother to his Jehovah's Witnesses. Like after he came to visit, he came to visit, and he was here for a week and everything, and it was pretty good, When he gets home, he gets this letter. He's Jehovah's Witness, and he's been out of the church. He got disfellowshipped, which is insane right there. But yeah, so he was visiting us, and when he got home from visiting us, he got a letter from them saying that they're inviting him back in. So he he immediately started preaching his deal, and we were like, Kurt's like, yeah, no way. I'm fine. I got what I need. Thank you. I don't need your whatever.
Your regulator.
Yeah, we don't need it. Thanks. And it's just
We
too
don't need
bad
to
because
be. We don't need to be
gonna be-
governed by that. The regulations of that.
religion, which totally, it's like that. That's that religion was actually created by one of the Illuminati bloodlines, which I can't remember. The DeVore family, I think.
I'm not
The
sure.
family that's behind, well, the Fritz Springmeier document book goes into that, and I could find it out, but I'm not going to, go on the internet right now while I'm doing this. But
Right.
yeah, it was created like along with Scientology and Mormonism to control the masses.
Well, they were all created. Even-
Probably
well,
they
even
were all
like
created.
Judaism and Christianity.
Well, I would say Judaism probably was, a mistake, and I will say that as a coming from that. So you can't say I'm anti-Semitic because I am a Semite. So good luck. But
Right.
so good luck with that. I get to say whatever the hell I want about this. I think it was a mistake. They mistakenly believed that the aliens were gods, and they created a religion around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think they. So it was a mistaken understanding of that this, blustery Enlil dude and his brother Enki were gods, were actually the creator of the universe.
Which isn't that just kind of like inherited from the Anunnaki, the whole like Sumerian kind of Anunnaki story?
I guess the Sumerians were probably first before the Jews, right? They came first, the Sumerians, and then the
or
Jews
maybe they were the original
after.
Jews. Who knows?
Yeah, right. Something like that. I don't know what happened to the Sumerians. I mean, I just think the Sumerians were predated the
Right.
Egyptians and the Jews, right? That's what I think.
But isn't that Enki and Enlil? Weren't those supposedly
not
Anunnaki extraterrestrials?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that they were mistakenly worshipped as God when they really aren't. Because if you look at the Old Testament, the Creator, they have too much human. Like, oh, I'm gonna smote you because you didn't do what I wanted. I'm gonna smote your ass. It's like that. The
Right.
Creator doesn't act like that. Sorry, you guys were like fooled into believing this was.
Yeah, the Creator's not really going to help you or smote you. It's in bias,
Well, I don't know about that because I have my personal
ways.
experience with it is it's loving. The spirit is loving and very helpful. My personal
True. It is loving.
loving,
But
very
it is
loving.
about love.
But
And compassion. It is compassionate.
Even though it loves me, if I act like a fucking idiot, then I do get spanked. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, just like the cliff story. If you walk off a cliff believing that you can fly when you can't, then you're gonna get spanked.
Oh well, you get spanked. Bam.
It might be a hard enough spanking that you don't survive it.
Exactly. You might have to come back and try again.
Depending on the size of the cliff.
You might have to start over, come back.
Yeah, come back to Schoolhouse Earth.
Yeah, again after leaving. Yeah, pretty funny. Pretty funny. Should I just...
Let me see if I can see here. I thought I'd find another definition here. Oh yeah, anarchy, from the Greek prefix "an," without, the absence of, and the Greek noun archon, master, ruler. Anarchy does not mean without rules. It literally means Yeah, it literally means without rulers, without masters. No
Right, and
rulers, no masters.
isn't the archon like the def like isn't an archon like the
Isn't that something from like the Gnostics?
well, I think it's those it's the reptilians or some shit. An archon. I
Yeah.
think it's like it's a really negative, nasty like creature. I get the feeling.
I think the Gnostic stuff gets into the Archon too, and it's like, yeah, it's like this nasty thing.
The
It's-
archon. It's not a very nice thing. The archon.
No,
I think it's not
no.
from here. I'm not getting it that it's a from here kind of deal.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
getting
that
that
gets into that like Satarian signal that Ike talks about. Is kind of
The
like
what?
the Archon.
What?
That Satarian signal that he says is coming from Saturn.
Oh yeah, Saturnian. That's the Saturnian.
Yeah,
signal.
Saturnian. That's what I meant. Saturnian. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, probably. Or somewhere. Maybe it's not in this universe. I don't know where they came from, but yeah, the archons. I get the feeling that the archons are like another. Well, they would be because they're not from here because they actually think they can rule
Well, they're masters. They think they're
free
masters.
free beings. So they're definitely not from here because they're from a place where they think they can, which they can't. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think of you know how they predicted programming Stranger Things, like that giant spider thing. That's an archon from the other dimension, the dark side dimension.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it, but
Right.
I may be wrong about that. But that's my point of view.
So yeah, to define that based off of that etymology, anarchy is the state of existence where there are no masters and no slaves. Therefore, anarchy means the absence of slavery, or in other words, freedom. So, and then you have statism. The belief, the brilliant idea that we give a small group of people the right to kidnap, imprison, harass, steal from, and kill people so that we can be protected from people who kidnap, harass, steal, and kill people.
And that's got to be the inversion. That's an inversion.
Yeah, that is an inversion. Statism.
This is from the document from the transcripts, right?
Yeah, it's probably, yeah, I'm sure it's in there.
I mean, is this that thing I sent you, that document that I sent you the other day?
No, this is just the other slides or whatever, but I bet I'm sure
Okay.
it's in the
Oh, I
document.
see.
I bet
I
it's in
see.
the document too.
I see. This is the actual slides. I see. Okay. See, because the transcript is probably just Mark talking about the slides.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is. So it
That's
gets
what it
more in depth on some of those subjects and stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Yep, we're in deep doo-doo. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's very interesting. I had the bully hang up on me today. I was like, oh, well.
Equality. Under natural law, everyone has the exact same rights. No one has any more or less rights than anyone else. Also, since rights are not created by humanity, and since they are the birthright of humanity gifted to us by the creator of the universe, no human being or group of human beings is actually capable of granting rights to anyone else, nor is any human being capable of revoking rights from anyone else. So there's a lot of that happening these days.
Oh, yeah.
Within man-made law.
Right. Well, I mean, just think of the people in jail who have no rights. Or if you you're encouraged to join the military, but they don't tell you that they're going to own you and you're not going to have any rights when you do that, because you're going to be like a paid thug with no. They don't really, unless your family knew natural law in and out, you wouldn't know.
No.
Because it's the way that it. Oh, there's a good word, service. That they refer to the military as service. Right there. That's a total. Because service is free, and it's done to be helpful to others.
Right.
And the military is far from that. It's not free. Number one, it's paid for, and it's created to be harmful, to cause death and destruction. It's not service. But that's when you hear, oh, I'm going to the service. What? You're going into be a paid mercenary. That's what you're doing. But then, they're still honored. Oh, yes. Well, I should, I can't really talk too loud because my partner is an ex. He's a veteran. Wonder what that word means, veteran.
So here's one. Justification, from the Latin noun jus, right, law, and the Latin verb facere, to make, to create. So justification basically just means to create a right, which isn't really incongruent with natural law, because you can't create rights, because they were given to us when we came into this world, not from humans, from the creator of the universe. So to justify something is to create false rights. Because if you really define what a right is, if you want to go there, a right, correct, based in truth, moral, basically is a right is an action that does not cause harm to another sentient being. A wrong is an action that does cause harm to another sentient being. Wrong, incorrect, not based in truth, immoral, in opposition to natural law. Actions based in it result in harm to other sentient beings. So, we've gone over some good definitions so far, I think.
Oh, for sure.
We're about a little over halfway through our meeting tonight. So I'm not spending as much time painting tonight because I'm looking into these different definitions. We were talking about force versus violence earlier. Let's see, your force.
Well, why don't you spend some time painting and we'll just talk about what we've already talked about.
Force, the capacity to do work or cause physical change, energy, strength, active power, actions which is in harmony with morality and natural law, because it does not violate other rights. Actions which one always possess the right to take, including defense against violence. So violence, the immoral intention of physical power to coerce, compel, or restrain. Coercive reaction, which is in opposition to morality and natural law because it involves the violation of others' rights, actions which one never possesses the right to take. And so that was just kind of a little more in depth, since we were talking about violence versus force earlier.
And should work on some painting, and well, I'm sure we'll come up. I'm sure we have enough to talk about,
For sure.
so you can paint.
Hmm.
Know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually going to excuse myself for a moment. I'll be right back.
All right. See here, I got my big flower. I'm not really doing anything. I was, thinking I could do all kinds of stuff with this, but I mean, I might be able to do some stuff like build up the petals, but I'm not gonna. I just don't have it in me right now because of the pain I'm in to do anything more than what I'm doing with this right now. But it'll be painted eventually and everything. So yeah. We just want the easier, softer way, people. We want our cake to eat and to eat it too. We want to be able to be free, but we want other people to make our decisions for us. We just can't. That's a violation of natural law, so we're going to have to. And hopefully I've recruited somebody to help me with this because it's very difficult to deliver this message by yourself. Very difficult. But I think my friend is going to help me deliver this message to the groups.
Back. I'm back.
You have returned from the recesses of the cable car.
Yes. She's referring to this home I'm in is very unique. It has old Victorian train car as part of the structure of the building with some additions built around it.
It's amazing. It's truly an amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's
Artist
over 100
lair.
years old. Solid oak walls.
It's amazing. Truly, the fact that they came up with that is really pretty cool. Did they just come upon that car somewhere and decide?
Someone purchased it and then they brought it up here as like a summer kind of like cabin. And then my great grandfather actually bought it from that person as a summer cabin. And then my grandmother inherited it, and then my mother inherited it from my grandmother.
Oh wow! Oh wow, that's amazing. I thought your parents did it, brought it.
Yep.
That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. See how creative people were before they had TV.
They're like, oh, let's take a train car and turn it into a
cabin
house.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool.
So, and actually, you know how my great grandfather got it? Well, he was a doctor, and one of his patients was the guy that brought it up here, and the guy was like trying to sell it, and my great grandfather, who was the doctor, said, "Oh, I like Colorado. I'll buy it." And he bought it sight unseen. And made it his summer cabin. Yeah.
Just moved to Colorado. And it was right sitting where it is now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow, that land has been in your family for a long time.
It had 2 less additions on it. In fact, let's see here. Find a picture of it before the additions were built. Hold on a second here. Nope, never mind. I don't have that on here. So we're not going to worry about that.
Yeah, but it's pretty neat.
I forgot that was externally stored on my hard drive as to not chew up space on my computer. I just did a slideshow for my father's memorial, and there was a picture of the house before the additions my parents built on were there. So I thought I could pull it up, but it turns out that's on the external hard drive. So we won't be pulling that up for you to see.
It's okay. Anyway. Let's see. What do we have to say about this topic? Anything more to say about this topic? Oh, shoot. Sure,
I
there's
was
a lot
supposed to
more
write
say.
that.
Huh?
In there.
What?
Oh, I was saying, like where I wrote truth across that center line, I was also supposed to put a conscious in there too. I forgot to do that. That's all right.
But you still can if you really want to.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's pretty neat that with those words, like that'll be pretty neat.
Well, because I was planning, so I put perception down here on the bottom, and then I was planning on putting unconscious up here at the top. But since I didn't put conscious in the truth line, I might just do perception at the top too.
But you could just go over the truth line with conscious. And it could just be letters. It could be like a letter design. You know what I mean? You could really get into those letters.
Right.
Just a thought. Just my.
No, it's true.
None of my business. Really, it's your business.
No, that's part of what we're doing here. We're helping each other out with our little dilemmas we face on our creative journey.
Yeah, so far this is flat-ish. It's pretty flat on the back, so I'm not really worried about it. But it might start to warp now that I'm adding the paper clay. But I'm not. It'll work itself out in the end. That's what I'm giving myself. Hopefully, I'm gonna have all of June to figure out how to deal with these imperfections on this project. Hopefully, but I mean, when I got when my back went out, I didn't have any energy to do any art at all. I was just like, I don't know, I can't do anything.
So in some ways, truth can be assessed with conscious, and perception can be replaced with unconscious. Unconscious.
Well, for sure, yeah. Truth can be replaced with what?
I think I'm just gonna write perception at the top too, just for
the balance.
Yeah, just for balance sake, and then I could name the piece conscious versus unconscious, or like
That'd be good.
The frequencies of conscious versus unconscious, conscious versus unconscious frequencies could be the name of the piece, and then it's got the truth and perception, if that makes sense. I don't like erasing stuff and redoing it, so I'm not going to erase the truth and write conscious in there.
No, I would just go right over it. That's what I meant. Just go right over it with a different color when it's dry.
That would.
So then the conscious, then the truth would shine through the consciousness word.
Mm-hmm.
Parts of it would.
Yeah, that kind of. Maybe I'll still do that later, but I'd have to wait for it to dry to do that.
You have to wait for it to dry though.
Yeah.
Oil paint. Wait for it to dry.
Yes. Yeah, I was talking to my sister earlier. She did this painting. She has it's almost all palette knife, like thick paint. She's like, hopefully it dries soon so I can put in the aspen trees. I'm like, that's probably going to take like a month to dry. unless you put some like liquid or something in there to help speed up the process. Because she's got some like thick reds on there, and red takes forever to dry.
Right. Even in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I was like, wow, it's just a lot. It takes a lot faster. It's a lot faster in Colorado than it is in New York.
Oh yeah, definitely does. You can set your painting in the sun, and that'll help speed up the drying too. But right now it's cold here in Colorado, which actually slows down the drying.
True.
I mean, if you have it in a window that is south facing and the sun's hitting it, then that will help your painting dry faster, just because it's not as cold in the window, and the direct sunlight is like cooking it.
You know, it's weird to me, even though things are so fucked up right now out there, I feel like intuitively like it's great. I feel like it's really good that this all is happening, even though it feels.
I think so, because I think there's a lot more people are waking up now than there used to be. You know,
I hope that's
like
true.
A reason. There's like a reason for people to wake up now. Before there wasn't really as much.
Yeah, there was that limbo.
But it wasn't as obvious of a reason.
Well, yeah, there was that limbo time that was just horrible, and you'd walk around knowing you and I did. We walked around knowing because we had done the work, and people were just like, la la. We were like, la la la, ah!
Right.
And now, but I mean, just the fact that we're even talking like that. Me and this guy Chris are even talking about using formal consensus. Like he was even open to it. That was so amazing to me. Because I actually brought it up to him yesterday and he wouldn't even listen to me. But today he listened to me. I was weird. It's almost like you can plant the seed. You plant the seed and they won't hear you like the day before, but then it just sinks in. And
well,
today
the problem
he was
is what happened the first day is probably he just reacted to that in a defensive manner, right? Which is a lot of what people do right now, is they react in a defensive manner. And then but they don't actually like really think about what was said. They just react. And then so today he had a chance to percolate and think about that, and he's like, oh yeah, that does make sense, that we like agree on things and we have consent, and if someone has a problem, they have a safe environment to bring that up, and it will be resolved.
Well, it's really because he has a group, like there's a group that he's a part of, and they have like this tyranny guy, the guy who like said everybody had to come to Jesus. That was the guy's purpose of the group, and he was an administrator of the group. And everybody's like, no, dude, this is not a come to Jesus. We're here for come to freedom. We're not here to pick, let you come to Jesus.
Yeah, I thought this was like a food co-op, like freedom group, not a
oh no, this is a different
Jesus one. Oh, this is a different one you're talking about.
This is not the food co-op.
Co-op.
The food co-op does have a tier, what do you call her? A fascist leader too.
So I know you guys were talking about using the consent thing and
both
the formal
places.
consent or whatever, and
consensus.
As well.
Consensus. Yeah, no, that will probably not go over well, because the basically how that went down, I'm like, well, we'll see if this works or not, was that this couple, one of whom is the fascist, did everything in the co-op themselves. Like they basically created the whole thing, and then they said, okay, here's this thing. Does anyone want to take it over? Which is actually great that they did that, if they could actually let go of the reins now. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like she can let go of the reins, because she and I had this tete-a-tete today. where she told me she was basically trying to get me to go, "Oh, you're right. Oh, you're right." And I'm like, "No, sorry, you're not right." She didn't like it. I was just like, I'm sorry. I mean, go. I just told her, go ahead, do whatever you want. I'm not going to stop you. But that's not what she wanted me to say. She wanted me to say, "Oh, you're right," because these people usually don't have the confidence. That's the other thing about it. It's like often they don't. They want not only to tell you what to do, but they want you to worship their decision, and they need that part too because they don't have the confidence to just do it themselves altogether. They also have to have your worship on top of it. I'm like, nope, you ain't getting that from me. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's just a weird thing. So I don't know. Maybe some do. I don't know, but maybe Napoleon did. But maybe he had people behind him blowing hot air up his ass, telling him to go for it. I don't know. But yeah, it's weird. It's very strange. I think.
It is weird.
Like it's like a psychological component to it. Seems like. But yeah, we're just gonna have to work it out. But see, what I see is that it seems like to me like like people, and we have this in autonomy too, like where we thought we were so great because we were in autonomy, and it's like, nope, we're just
Normal
bozos on the
people
bus here,
that just
and
took
we
a class.
and we are part of the problem. Like we are part of the community of people that created the problem that we have here. So we have to accept that and not think of ourselves as better than other people, because the second we do that, that's exactly what happened with this priest class.
That's your ego
That
speaking,
took
you
the
know.
knowledge and hid it from the masses because they thought they were better than the masses. And nope.
Well, as soon as
Right.
you start thinking you're better than someone else, then that's your ego taking over. And
right, because that's the duality, right?
You're actually in ego when you're thinking like that.
Right. Right, and plus it's the duality. Right?
And then people are like, "Oh, well, I am better than that person because he has a disability." Well, no, you're not better than him. You just don't have a disability. That's hardly dictates your betterness. You know.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's just interesting. I'm like, well, hopefully we're gonna get it this time, because we're like at the precipice here.
Oh yeah,
You know?
it's definitely a time of choice for humanity. You know.
Right. Remember that humanity's moment of choice. I'm like, did we pass that moment of choice yet, or what?
I think we're still in it, but it's like, you know, well, we're always in it. We're always in the moment of choice, you know, every second or whatever. But, you know, it takes a lot to, you know, get others to understand the natural law aspect of, you know, there are things, there are natural laws that are beyond our control. We'll just put it that way. And yes, we can use certain laws against those laws to, in a sense, have a sense of control and understanding the laws and how certain laws can be used against or with each other.
Speaking of laws, by the way, we're going to put on a workshop with all the law people in it, all the heavy hitting law people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you might check that out. I don't know if you are interested in that or not. But it'll be-
Who's this?
So I'll be, Coffin's going to put on a workshop soon that has Alphonse Fagiolo, John J. Singleton, um,
Oh, so this
Dr.
is not,
Graves.
this is a man-made law kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how you can
it's mainly-
understand man-made laws and loopholes that you can use to help
Yeah.
have more
Well, yeah,
freedom.
because I mean, well, it's basically holding the courts to what they agreed to, because now they've gone so corrupt. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I mean,
Right.
it's good. It's good. It's like, you know, we have the system of laws, and now what's happened is that that they have abandoned what we agreed to, what they agreed to do now, and now they're rogue. They've gone rogue. So these people hold them to what they agreed to. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
And not saying that this is good. You know, this is the ultimate desire. But for now, while we're still in the system, the monetary system. I mean, that's what, you know, we're in the monetary system until we're back to, you know, sharing
and
we're
loving.
gonna have to
Yeah.
use this shit.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, we're not quite back to sharing and loving yet. Okay, so until then,
Not even close.
we'd like to just, you know, rein them in from their tyrannical rule over us.
Yeah.
So that there's this crew of people that, you know how to hold
Nice.
them accountable. So there's gonna be a workshop of them talking about it, and I was in the call about it today. It was pretty cool listening to all
Nice.
them talk. I mean, it goes way over my head too.
Right.
But eventually, if I listen to it long enough and study it, eventually it sinks in. That's what I've noticed with myself. It eventually sinks in.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things you have to think about a little bit for a while. And part of the reason it takes a long time to make sense of it is because it's man-made.
Oh, for me, for sure, that's a huge reason. It's just really, it's very difficult.
Because there's not a lot of intuitiveness to that.
But that's okay, because, you know, once I get it, I've got it through and through. I can't just get it superficially. That's me personally. I can't get it superficially. I have to get it like.
But it's
on all levels.
definitely good to understand that, because that's how these guys are starting to be able to stand up and be like, hey, look, you guys said this, and now you're flip-flopping and saying this. But that's against the law. You guys already made this law, and now
violating
you're
your
going
own
against
fucking
it.
laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what gives here, buds? I mean, it's
Right.
like how they basically like know how to you know, get people off the hook with their boss if their boss is trying to force them to get the jab, or using the man's law. They show
Yeah, 'cause
basically
it's
they show
interesting.
things that are hidden to the
Like
normal
with
person.
some of that PMA stuff too, it's like if you're in a PMA that doesn't agree with vaccinations, then you can actually, if employer comes to you and tries to get you to get vaccinated, you can actually say, hey, look, I'm part of this private membership association that doesn't agree with that, and so I'm not subject to that law, or that rule. And you guys can
Mandate.
either take me to court or not make me get this thing,
Right, but then the thing is that they're basically violating. Basically, what they're doing is they're violating their own employment contract that they made with the person, and they're also saying that they can give medical advice, which violates their insurance, like their
Well, it
contract
violates
with
HIPAA
their
too.
their insurance company. So their insurance
Mhm.
company will drop them if
Mhm.
if they're caught doing that.
Right.
Most people don't know this stuff. You see.
Yeah.
Even the
And
insurance companies
isn't
don't
that part
really
of
know.
HIPAA too? That HIPAA.
Oh yeah,
act
the
or whatever
HIPAA
it is?
thing. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff they're violating, and they're getting away with it because people are ignorant. And that's another word we could look at. We've already looked at the word ignorant, but we could
Mhm.
look at it again because it's so important. The word ignorant.
Yeah. It basically means you're ignoring something that is readily available or discoverable.
This one's too big. I don't
It's
want
not,
it big.
you're not nescient of it because it's not hidden from you.
Yeah, it might require a little bit of work and effort to research, but
Yeah, you
you
might have
can
to
find the
actually like
answer.
Google something, or
Go to the
actually
library,
probably
open a
Google
book.
wouldn't work. You're
Open
better
a
off
book.
duck going it maybe.
Oh, DuckDuckGo's been compromised though now. You know that,
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah, because the CEO of DuckDuckGo said that they were going to censor um, the anti-Russian something or other. So the minute he said he was going to censor, we knew that he had
Mm-mm.
going to do. He's lost his way. So now people are using Quant now. Quant. There's a few Quant, which is QUANT, which is European, and then Swiss Cows is another one. There's a few other ones now, but DuckDuckGo, the guy is obviously too big for his britches now because he thinks he can censor something for the good of all of us. Thanks. We don't need to be governed. We can make our own decisions.
True.
I think money just maybe naturally somehow, I don't know. Yeah, well, because of the Federal Reserve and the dishonesty of money, it probably makes you like that. You'd have to be so vigilant to keep from becoming a tyrant. The more money you make, you know what I mean? Because of this dishonesty of the currency itself.
Ignorance, from the Latin verb ignorare. Probably said that completely wrong. I'm not very good at the Latin pronunciation of things. Apologize for that. So, ignorance, to not know, even though necessary information is present, because that information has been willfully refused or disregarded. Nescience, from the Latin verb nesciere, to not know because knowledge was absent or unattainable, or I would say hidden, and that's why it's unattainable.
Right. Nowadays, though, a lot of knowledge is hidden within so much knowledge. So
Yeah.
much. There's so much out there now. It's kind
So
of
there's a
sometimes
lot
you
of
can.
nescience just because there's too much, and it's like, in some ways, unless you have no life outside of research, it's going to be difficult to be in the know about everything there is. And you could go down big, long rabbit holes that you're thinking you're discovering truth when you're actually just not. You're down a perception rabbit hole versus a truth rabbit hole.
Right, and you have to like use intuition at that point to just discern
Yes.
whether the thing is real or not. Which you still might. I don't know. It's a mess. It's a mess.
Right? God, why is it such a mess?
It's a fucking mess. But there's a way through it. I mean, the creator wants us to, I believe, get separated from this situation and get back to being free beings. So we have the universe on our side, the power of the universe on our side. I would say, personally.
Okay, and here's one that's most people misinterpret too, is the definition of apocalypse,
Oh yeah.
from the Greek prefix apo, away from, off, remove from, and the Greek verb kleption, to cover, to conceal. Hence, apocalypse literally means to reveal or to take out of hiding. And what are most people gonna say when they when you ask them what apocalypse means.
The end of the world.
Yep. So that
So in
is-
a way, that's true, though. It's the end of the man's world.
it is, but most
But they
people
think of it
most
as
people thinking of it as like the whole
dystopian, right?
planet explodes and everyone ceases to exist.
Which, yeah, exactly. Which might be the case if everyone's asleep. That might happen,
Mhm.
but
Right.
we could just go back to living in the woods. Yippee! That just sounds like so awesome to me. I mean, the transition might suck, and I'd have to give up things like painting. Whatever, I'm sure it would be great. Going back to just being a free animal. Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds nice.
I know, and there's like, I find that silly too. Like when you bring that up, it's like, I remember, I think I was a kid and we were like sitting I think we were going to Niagara Falls with my grandma and we were going to the Canadian side. So we had to like sit in this long line and I was like super bored. When are we going to be there? You know, kind of thing. And of course the line to get into Canada was like half an hour long or something. I don't know why it was so busy at that time of day, but it was. I'm just like this impatient kid. And I'm sitting there and there's all these birds flying overhead. I'm watching the birds just like flying across the border, you know.
Free is free. They're free.
And then they fly back over here, fly back. And there's some birds flying that across this way, some birds flying across that way. Like no one's stopping them, right?
No one's checking their
And I
papers.
just thought it was weird. Like I was just like, didn't really think about it in like a freedom sense back then, just because I was a kid. I just thought it was weird. I was like, huh, why is it that we have to wait in a line to cross this imaginary line where the birds don't have to wait in line? And,
Good question, kid.
Yeah.
Little
Or
did
like
you
even
know.
if there wasn't a line there, we'd still be stopped, and they'd be like, oh, like what is your purpose for coming to Canada? You know.
Because I want to. That's never
Hey,
good
you
enough.
guys look like a bunch of hippies. You mind if we search your car?
Oh, yeah, I got my car searched in what the hell is it?
Make sure you don't have any-
Texarkana, because we were on
illicit
Dead Tour, and all we
drugs.
had was a bunch of tie-dyes in the back of our car, so they like stopped us to make sure we weren't like hustling drugs across the Mexican border. Yep, because we had out-of-state plates. Yeah, gotta make sure, That was a while ago. But still. 94. 95. Okay. Yep.
Now that I'm thinking about it, in a lot of ways, the painting I'm working on today and last week actually does reflect definition as well, because understanding the truth of a word would be understanding its definition. Just like we said before, like on the jurisdiction thing, it's like when you gave me back your definition in your mind, it was different than the actual definition was. And it, that can be that perceived definition versus the true definition can really affect the state of things because of because of the the way the humans perceive that definition, either
Well, right,
incorrectly or
because
correctly.
wouldn't it just change the whole meaning?
Changes everything.
Changes the whole meaning.
Just like if you change, someone was saying, if you if you replace the word heaven with space in the Bible, like every time the word heaven comes up or heavens, and you replace that with space or outer space, then it changes the whole context of the Bible drastically.
I'm
And
sure.
there's some scholars that actually think that the word heaven in the Bible actually really meant space. And so, and that actually the word angel was actually alien, the aliens or the angels.
That would make sense because of the EL.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Thought I'd bring up there.
Right. Well, that's exactly true. That's exactly. I mean, because people like have changed the definitions of words. I mean, there's it's crazy
Yeah.
now. Words do not mean what they used to mean. So, or people just assume that they understand the meaning of a word, and
Right.
that
There's a lot
then they
of
get their own
assumption
meaning.
there. Yeah.
Then they can do whatever they want based
Well,
on
and
their definition.
or that assumption causes a misunderstanding of what is actually really
Absolutely.
articulated,
Yes.
because you're assuming that some of the definitions of some of the words spoken or the rhetoric that you're taking in is true, or I mean, you're confusing the subject matter, or possibly even taking it out of context by not understanding the true definitions.
Exactly. Truly. Exactly. Exactly. Truly. True.
And they understand that, and that's why they're like, when they try to go to war, they're like, we need to exert force, because they know the definition of force, and that's a lot different than using the word violence. Instead of saying, hey, we need to go do some violence to stop these people from doing the bad stuff we think they're doing, that's
No, no,
different than
it's
saying
not. So we can
force.
extract their resources. We're going to
Yeah.
lie to you and tell you that it's for whatever reason, but really it's to get their resources, or because they are the only country left without a central bank. That's why we go to war now. It's either to as the paid thugs of the banksters to put pressure on the last few countries, which I don't even know if there are any countries left that don't have a central bank. But there were. Libya was one. South Korea was one. See, that was the last couple wars we just.
Mm-hmm.
Syria. And I mean, I think even I don't know exactly, but I think the Putin thing might have had to do with something with regards to uh, the central bank situation, like trying to get out from under the central banks. Although I'm pretty certain that he's just another
Well, part of it is
oligarch.
a big part of why Russia wants to take over Ukraine is because Ukraine used to be part of Russia. And the city in Ukraine, that capital, was like the capital of like the whole of like that was like one of the original cities in that whole region, I think even before Moscow.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
They want it
and
back.
so and one of the things that pissed Russia off was Ukraine joined NATO, because before they weren't part of it, and when they joined NATO, that didn't really make Russia very happy, because that made them even further separated from Russia than they were when they were just Ukraine, not allied with NATO. That makes sense. I don't know. Doesn't really that much to me, because that stuff, those grudges are so far in the past that it's ridiculous that it's still even.
Well, I don't even know if that's the
thing.
truth. I mean, to me, he
Yeah,
could just be a
it's true.
puppet. It could just be chaos created. That could just be a story that they're telling us so that it's believable so that they can just create
Well, it's
chaos
been
and drive up the oil prices here, to where we're paying $4 a gallon, which is
there's been
actually
like
cheap for.
some creepy headlines out there too, like oh, like I can't think of one specifically now, but it's basically in the lines of like it's like the if we don't help Ukraine, then they're just going to get taken over, kind of thing, and they need our help, and da 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 da. And that's just to me like echoes of, oh, we're bringing United States into this war, or other countries into the war to make this thing a world war, not just a, you know, war against two nations. Which I think is the ultimate goal, is they want it to be a world war. And right now they're just like, oh, well, we're going to send them some extra, like, military equipment and stuff. But when does that turn into, oh, we can't get the extra military equipment in there, so we have to actually bring our military in there, and then we're actually part of the war, or not
Well,
us,
I
but
mean,
like
I mean,
the
but
nation.
I heard that we were the cause of it anyway, because we violated
Well,
the
aren't we
agreement. We
part
always
of,
are.
well, and that would kind of go back to that NATO thing too, because aren't we part
It's the
of
NATO
NATO?
thing.
Yeah, we're like
Has
the
to do with the NATO
daddies
thing.
of NATO, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, we're the NATO. We're NATO. And so the NATO
Or
thing.
we aren't, but the government of the people who think they're
Fake ass
in gut
government.
they're the fake ass governors that think they control our land are doing that. That makes sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, it makes sense. Yes, it does. Figure this out. Do not stress. But in the meantime, of course, there's 2 million Ukrainian refugees.
Right.
God
That
knows.
being said, I mean, that doesn't make what's going on any, I thought we were, as humanity, honestly, I thought we were coming to a point where war was going to be obsolete, but I guess I was being a little bit of an optimist then, because it's obvious now that that's
They
not
make
true.
money with that. I mean, God knows what the hell. I'm sure it has many agendas during right now. I'm sure it's got many agendas besides making people a bunch of money, as usual.
Right.
But it's also probably part of the COVID thing somehow. And just like that stupid fake volcano in the ocean was just to clear out that island of the native people that lived there so that they would have to integrate onto the mainland and get jabbed. And then that land could belong to whoever took it over,
Yeah, that's what you were talking about a little bit last week. The whole, almost like false flag situation to get someone to do something. Like, is it basically a false flag for coercion?
Right.
Because they're like, oh, we're going to do this thing, and that's going to coerce or force these people to do what we want them to do.
Yeah, which is to give up their land. That we're going to bomb their land with a fake volcano, make it seem like it's a volcano, so we can come in and take it from them. We're gonna get them jabbed, like, and integrate them. They're never going to get to go back to their land. They might think they are, but they're not ever going to get to go back.
Like, oh, we need these to grow organic Chiquita bananas because more people want organic bananas.
Or whatever. Lie. Yeah, I doubt that it's for that. but
But
whatever.
you can have organic bananas without taking over people's land.
I think that they did it just so
It'd
that
be
they could,
a
they want
ethical
it.
company,
I mean, it
you
could be
know.
like a, it could be that it's a beautiful island and they want it for their, to be able to go there on vacation.
Hmm.
Who knows? They,
Yeah, that's true.
that their,
Could be part
their
of it too.
agenda is, you know. I mean, it's all about them having the earth and us not at this
Yeah.
point, I think. So, yeah, hopefully we can figure out how to get along with each other so they won't be able to take us over. It's so funny. It was
Yeah,
just
because
so funny.
if we can get along with each other, that's called coming together in community, right? And then if everyone's coming together, that's not everyone being divided. So, you know, divide and conquer, come
Yeah,
together
exactly.
and win, you know.
Right. I mean, it was so funny to me, like to hear this person in the freedom movement who I like actually tell me that that being egalitarian is not practical, and I'm just like, are you insane? Because that's basically saying that, you know, egalitarian means that everyone has equal voice. Everyone is equal. That is the
Mhm.
fact of natural law. All
Right.
humans are equal. I'm sorry it's not practical. I'm sorry it takes time, but that's just what is, and it's not worth. Um,
It's not worth compromising your principles there, you
yeah,
know, for
that's not a good.
convenience. That's not
That's,
a time to compromise principle for convenience.
no, but that, yeah, those people, I'm not sure they're gonna awaken to that, and I might just have to say, okay, well, see you later. I'm not gonna sit here and fight with you
Yeah, it's just like,
about it.
if you guys can't come out of your cognitive dissidence, then I don't want to be a part of this, you know.
Kind of like that. Yep.
Could be viewed as harsh, but that's, you know, sometimes that's the way it's got to be, right? Can't be the nice guy always, or girl.
Hmm.
Yeah, it'll look like what I wanted it to, but it's okay. It's too small to make it look like that fully.
What?
Yeah, I was trying to make these like little miniature, like human things, like they're walking along the path of truth or, you know, perception away from truth.
Yeah, you might have to draw those with something else and glue them on there if you want it to, because they're so small. Like you could draw
Yeah, it's all
some.
right. I'm just kind of making some color shapes. That'll be good enough. It's not that big of a deal. I was just like trying to think of something else I could do to this since I don't feel like starting another piece tonight.
Are you?
And
Oh, you,
that came to me as a thought as to maybe we could do that.
oh, but you could do so much more there with those.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Are you
What are
kidding?
you
Like, what
implying?
about the wavy line? The wavy line could be a different color, and
Oh yeah,
you
I know.
you could make it like dark to light, more molded.
Yeah, I mean there's all, yeah, I could do some color transitions in the lines.
Yeah.
Although I was thinking that might cause them to might look less like a line. So I was kind of swaying away from doing that, but couldn't hurt maybe to change their color.
Just the wavy one.
Or the two wavy ones, maybe.
The one that's wavy, the one that's got more frequent, higher frequency one,
Okay.
to be a different color than the other one.
Right.
And even the lower frequency one to be a different color than the truth one.
I think I will do that. And I could still do the little people walking along the line from a top view, just like little suggestions. Maybe people will be like, what's that weird shape on there? That's okay too. Yeah, so I've been, this has been good for me doing this, because I've been overcoming some fears,
Oh, what?
Um, just like I'm proud of myself for reading all those definitions tonight because
Oh, yeah.
I used to have a phobia of reading in front of people.
Oh, wow, really?
So
Oh,
yeah,
because of the special needs class thing.
well, yeah, and part of it wasn't even that. It was like just in school, like when I was just in the normal classroom. Do you remember that thing where you'd like someone would read like a paragraph and then you would stop and then the next person would read a paragraph
Uh-huh.
and then you would stop and then the next? That sounds harmless, right?
Not really, but yes. I'm not sure.
But like, yeah, I had like a really traumatic experience with that just because I was like, it took me a little longer to learn or to read smoothly than some of the other kids, some of my other peers, and that when that would take place in the classroom, that system of like reading through information,
Mm-hmm.
I would stumble. And there was one time where instead of just like doing it in order of like, um, where like the way you're sitting, like, oh, like this row goes first and it goes from left to right or whatever, and then goes to the next row or the next table, however that looked. It wasn't operating like that. It was like the teacher was like, okay, like when you're done, call on the next person who you want to read. And some of the
Oh, no.
bullies, yeah. And so some of the bullies in the class, like, recognized that I had stumbled the first time I read. And so they kept like repeatedly calling on me. And I just started getting like more and more like flustered. And then like by the end of it, the whole class was like laughing at me. And then like the teacher at that point stopped it and was like, you know, basically uh, kind of reprimanded the bullies a little bit, you know. But that like experience was traumatic enough that like every time like a scenario would come up where like, you'd have to take turns reading the information, I would get like extreme amounts of anxiety because I knew I was going to have to read, at some point. And then just the fact that I was getting that anxiety would make me stumble on words that I knew just because I was in fight or flight mode, you know? I was like literally trying to read a paragraph while in fight or flight mode.
No, I
And like
understand.
it took me a long time to overcome that. And I'm grateful that I've gotten better and better at that.
Oh, I can relate to this because in my school they used to sing your name out. There was a music teacher and she would sing your name out and you're supposed to sing it back. And I am tone deaf and I could never sing it back the way that she
Right.
sang it to me.
Right.
And
And
so
then
I
so
would get
like,
teased like hell. I would get totally teased. So of
yeah,
course I
so
never
then,
learned how. I never got past being tone deaf because of that. So I can
mm-hmm.
relate to that because it was terrible. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a fucking nightmare. Like, and of course I got totally teased.
And so luckily, uh, one of the things that did help was just like kind of the avoidance where I got it, you know, at a certain point to where like the teachers just like, and this wasn't necessarily any better because it was still kind of embarrassing. Like I had like a special thing to where if they did that, I just didn't have to read. They'd just skip over me.
Right, which is almost worse too.
Which it's not necessarily any better now that I look at it now, but back then it was better just because I didn't have to I didn't get nervous. You know what I
Right.
mean? And because that would last a while sometimes, I'd get all anxietied out, and it's just because we're done reading that, that section of the book or whatever doesn't mean I don't still have anxiety
Oh,
over
fuck
the
yeah,
whole
no, I know.
ordeal. You
Oh,
know
yeah.
what I mean?
Oh,
Especially
I
as a kid when you don't have as much control over that kind of thing,
Oh,
where
yeah.
your anxiety levels are more like it's not as easy as a kid to transmute those anxiety levels back into normal functioning cognitive
Well, you still have
levels,
to think it through. If I have anxiety, I still have to think it through to where, I recognize that I don't need to have anxiety. But back when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I didn't know I didn't need to have anxiety.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't even know I had anxiety. I didn't even know that's what that was.
Yeah. It was
I
just
just
my
had it.
stomach felt bad and I didn't, act normal kind of thing,
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep.
that was-
No, I wonder about that. Like, what is it about the system that makes children tease each other? I mean, do you think they tease each other in a native situation too, or is this just because of our system that causes children to tease each other?
I don't know. I think it's part of the whole that whole idea of being better than someone else, and that's kind of brewed with the competitiveness and believing in the Darwinian theory of survival of the fittest. If you believe that, then it's you can make fun of the unfit, right?
Well, I mean,
But
do Ollie and Sophie tease each other?
not really. They
No.
might fight with each other, but they don't really hey, hey, you're, you smell bad or, whatever. They're not hee. It's always one person is playing with the toy, so the other kid wants to play with the toy kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Is that competition, do you think?
Yeah, because it's almost more like the scarcity, whereas there's one of the toy, and so just because the one kid's playing with it and now it seems more enticing than before because no one was playing with it or whatever, and so that kind of I don't know if that.
Do you think that would be the case even if they were being homeschooled and they never learned about that stuff, or is that
Well, I think that
something
they're
that's
gonna fight.
learned?
I think there's a human part of humans that it's part of our survival instinct that we want to have what others have,
Oh,
and our kind of our herd mentality, and if there's only one thing and one, I don't know. It's just the jealousy and just, I don't know, because it doesn't always happen. Sometimes they're playing with two separate toys completely fine and they're not they don't fight, but sometimes they get into it over a stupid toy, playing with a stupid toy,
I was just curious. Because I never had kids, so I don't really know about that. But I just wondered.
Yeah, I feel I don't know that school necessarily has to do with it. I think it's just kind of it's like that saying, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence kind of thing.
Right.
And that's it's almost like jealousy. It's ooh, look at that. My neighbor just got a new barbecue or something, so now I want to get a new barbecue.
Let's try.
We'll do that. Yeah, so it's weird. It made me do that weird verification thing again.
Huh?
But, oh well.
What?
Oh, the YouTube thing made me do the weird verification thing again.
The meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Shouldn't it have been doing that the whole dang time?
No, it has been.
Oh, it has been.
I'm just saying it's weird that I had to verify it again. It's like versus it just working without verifying it
I don't know.
like it used to always do. Because I didn't have my iPad with me, so I had to call my wife and do it. Luckily, I did that.
Oh no, you're serious, really?
Yeah.
So what's up with the iPad? Why is it doing that with the iPad?
It just is sending. That's the way it wants to verify it. It's sending it to my iPad as like a.
Isn't your iPad just like a giant phone?
Pretty much.
So it would be sending it to your phone too, right?
No, because it says it like segregates. Oh, I'm sending this to your iPad, not your phone.
What if your iPad was off?
That's what happened the first time. When I wasn't able to verify it, remember?
The iPad was turned off?
It was turned off and the battery is completely dead.
Oh no, and so then it wouldn't verify it. It's decided that that's how to do it. That's really a fucking drag.
Yeah. So I guess I have to like bring my iPad every time.
So now it's up to your.
So I can verify this.
I mean, I got an iPad. Somebody gave me an old iPad, and I've been using it. Just to.
Well, I think it's just like a way of verifying, because it's like you have more than one device, right? So if you, the chances are it's verifiably you if you're using, if you can verify with two of your devices. Like if someone stole my laptop and was trying to live stream, then they would have zero access to my iPad and would not be able to do it. So I get why
this is so
done,
annoying.
why do they
to
have
me?
to do it every time?
Well, what's
At this
also
time and in this location, it's like when I try to do it at my house, it doesn't do it at all. Like it knows I'm like not at home or something.
Oh, because of the IP address. Yeah, the IP address is different. You know, it's annoying to me. It's like, why don't you just let us worry about whether we lost or got our thing stolen, and you guys can just mind your own damn business about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like
I don't really care. Like if I don't, you know, ask me for 10,000 passwords or whatever. Who cares? This is my property, and I'm responsible for it. And if I lose it or it gets stolen, that's my problem, not your problem.
Or if I neglect it and it's not being used anymore, that's kind of my problem too, because, and if it gets compromised because of my neglect, then it's not really their responsibility to stand up for my neglect. If that was the case.
Slavery. It's total slavery to me.
Yeah.
This is a slave thing. Like that they take responsibility. Like you don't take responsibility for your shit. You know? It's like but yeah, that's long gone. You know? It's just weird.
Right.
Are we on Twitch?
Not tonight. I still haven't.
I just wanted to know.
That's on my list for this week, is to figure out the OBS software. And it's possible that even with that, we won't be able to stream to both of them at the same time. Well, maybe we should just switch to that, and then we can just post these on. But actually, you can. But I think I heard like, because I was actually talking to one of my cousins about it, because he does live streams. He's into this like virtual reality thing, and he like records like his virtual reality stuff. Like he live streams it sometimes, and he was saying that like there's a plugin for the OBS software which allows you to stream to other platforms, so, or multiple platforms at the same time. So I don't know if that's built in or if that's a plugin. So that's some learning curve stuff I'll have to tackle.
Yeah, I know you've been busy. I just wondered.
Yeah. So that was a long answer for something that could have been a short answer, I
It's
presume.
fine.
But yeah, I definitely, that's on my radar as something I need to do. To get this, just the production values up a little bit on what we're doing here, you know. Slowly but surely, this show we're doing here, this salon, this art salon we're creating, is going to have more and more people, and it's also going to have higher and higher production values as we learn more in this constant journey of discovery and learning here on planet Earth. You know, we talk about a lot of stuff and how we claim to be experts on natural law and all this stuff, but we're actually always learning too. We don't know everything, and we're in a constant state of learning. Every day I learn something new. Some of it's trivial and not as meaningful as other things. Sometimes it's extremely meaningful and inspiring or uninspiring, or just like understanding something can be exhilarating, you know. Like I remember when I was like a kid, I was just like gazing out one of the windows of the house. I was like a really young kid. I couldn't have been more than 4 or 5. And it was like my real, like when I realized that I was like an independent like being, you know, that had like free will, that I could like, oh, I can sit here and look out the window, or I could go outside and be outside. And I'm like this entity that lives in the world, you know. It's kind of a weird experience. I don't know why I was thinking about that right now.
I don't remember it. I don't remember that, but ever. That's neat.
Maybe it's just a weird thing I was going through as a child, and I was thinking about my existence, you know.
Hmm. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stop working on this weird thing right now. See, here it is right now. And I'm gonna let it dry. Then I'm gonna probably build up some of the petals like I did on the other one. And I'm probably gonna redo the center part because I don't like the center part that I did, even though it has the flower of life pattern on it. But I don't. I think I'm just gonna redo it because it's sloppy. I think it's sloppy. And then I'm gonna put a different centerpiece in the center of this flower. And but that's just gonna be when I'll do it later because it's too. It's gotta dry. Number one, it's gotta dry, and then I have to
Right.
build more on it. But I like it. I mean, it's simple. It's kind of just like a kitty flower, kind of at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
we'll see how it turns out. I might work on work on it more this week, and I might work on it depending on my physical feeling. If I'm in pain, I probably won't work on it until next week. But I have a schedule where I want to get 3 done a month, I think.
Oh, wow.
March, April, May. Because
Nice.
3, 6, 9. Because then I'll be done, and then I can use June to, fix them all with all their problems.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a set number of pieces. I guess it just is how many pieces do I have done by the time we get to that time off of what I'm doing here. Because I'm planning on using these pieces in that for that event.
Right, and I'm only doing 12 because I made 12 pieces. But if I don't get them done, then I won't have 12 pieces. But I kind of just wanted to have 12 pieces.
Right, that's a good number.
It's just to me, this whole show honestly is like it's like a work production. I'm trying to do it like work production because I was I was in such a dry spell for so long. 5 years I really was in a dry spell. So I just thought I have to do this as if it's a work project, because otherwise I might just get bogged down in my own thoughts about it.
Yeah, and just like not do it.
or just like overthink things. The way this is, it's not. I mean, it's like I've already done all the thinking work, and now I can just have fun with the sculpting and the painting part.
Right. You
know what I mean?
did the hard part already, and now it's just kind of
Yeah. Now I get to have just like play with clay. That's it. Paint. So yeah, I mean
that's kind of where I am on this painting. It's kind of like this is the fun part, and the hard part is over. I've already got the conceptualized idea of what I'm doing down, and now I just have to kind of like embellish it and add like layers to it to make it look just not so plain,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that on canvas or some other board?
It's like a board, like a gessoed board.
Oh, cool.
Which was just like one that I found it from. It was like a frame back, like a masonite frame back thing, and then I just gessoed it myself from like one of those cheap picture frames you get at like Michael's or something. So yeah, kind of fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I like painting on boards. They're a little bit stiffer. Like I feel like you can. Sometimes the canvas is like a little bit. Like it's not as stiff, so it moves around on you more, like compresses and stuff, and it's just a little bit different feel. These boards, they tend to be a little smoother too than the canvas. Usually has a little bit more tooth to it. It's like a little rougher. Unless you go down to like a linen or something, then those can get a lot smoother. A lot of artists like to, especially like hyper realism, they like to use like linen. It's just like a finer thread fabric so you can get a higher degree of detail, because there's not like sometimes the texture of the canvas can interfere with like your line work, or the way the paint goes onto the canvas. And if you're trying to do extreme realism, it'll just make your life a little easier. Or I guess even with like a smaller painting, sometimes if you're trying to get more detail in a smaller painting, it can be a little easier if the canvas is smooth or the substrate is smooth. Just kind of trying to take this line and fade it in. So like when you get further away from the truth line, it kind of starts turning that other color more. Some of this lighter blue can help fade it out.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of oil painting, is going from dark to light.
Yeah.
gradating.
It's a fun. It feels neat the way you do it. Blending of the colors. Making the path kind of blue like this kind of insinuates this kind of going into the darker blue, and then back into the like tan colored path where it's illuminated with the light. Whoa. Just looked at the clock. It's 8:01.
Oh, is it? Okay.
You know what that means.
Time to sign off.
Time to sign off here. So once again, thank you all for joining us for another deep dive into natural law. We discussed definitions tonight. I think we got into some really neat ones. And next week, let me look at my notes here and see what we have on the docket for next week. I know we might have covered some of that stuff already, but I think I'll skip ahead if we did. Yeah, so I had for this next week, I had to define natural law. I think we did that already in the definitions section. I guess the next one is kind of, looks like it's talking about discovery versus belief. That could be another thing. That could be a fun one, huh? And that kind of will bring us into, talking about consciousness a little deeper. But yeah,
That would be good.
discovery versus belief.
Is that next week?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then after that, there's consciousness, which I guess we could probably maybe blend the discovery versus belief and consciousness into like 1 week, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next week would be, we're going to start going into human brain structure and behavior, which will be, I think that will be a pretty interesting subject matter to talk about in 2 weeks. But next week, we're going to be concentrating on consciousness, discovery versus belief. So we hope you can join us for that. And is there anything else you wanted to add before we sign off here, Joanna?
Nope. Have a good week. Try to get along with your brothers and sisters. That's what I would say, because that's what I'm going to be doing. Yeah. Trying to get along with my brothers and sisters.
And I think there's a double meaning to that. She doesn't just mean your brothers and sisters in direct family. She means all of our brothers and sisters in this world we share.
Yeah, I mean that, and I don't mean that in terms of just like to bow down to them to get along with them.
No.
Either. I mean to get along with them, but don't give up yourself in the process. Yeah. It's a challenge.
To get along with them
all of
in a way that you're not infringing on their rights, and they're not infringing on your inalienable rights.
Exactly.
Is what I'm getting.
Yep. Yeah, it's challenging, but it's a good challenge. Because that is what, the mystery school of life purpose is, I think, is for us to learn how to get along with each other.
Yeah. One last thing. Now that I have the color fading from tan to blue to dark blue, back to tan again as it gets closer to the truth line, does that make it not look like a congruent line? to you? That's
Well, I think you have
connected.
to probably carry the blue up through the truth and, I think you have to carry it up through the letters and everything.
so you think the whole line should just be blue?
Yeah, I mean, it could be mixed with that brown more,
But it has
but
to be some
some,
amount
yeah,
of blue in
because
there.
it's too abrupt.
Okay.
And especially because all of those lines in the center part are that brownish color.
Mm-hmm. Like it needs to be
It has
blue
to
and just
be.
basically brown, or maybe it doesn't even have to be brown when it intersects with the truth, because it's not really on the truth, it's just intersecting with the truth sometimes.
Well, that's up to you. I mean, you could make that spot. You could do that thing where it's like the two colors mixed. Like that's a kind of a
Right.
complementary mix of brown, orange, and blue, whatever that color would be when it touches that line.
Right. Because I was kind of, when I first started changing the color of the line, I was kind of thinking like as you move further out, it changes, gets darker color, and then as you move closer to truth, it gets back to that, brownish
Oh,
tan
it's up to
color.
you. Maybe
Or
that's what it
or
needs
maybe
to be.
that's too confusing for the eye, and it'd be better to just have a blue line for the worst, for the low consciousness vibration frequency, and then just do like a red line or something for the high frequency vibration, or maybe like a purple line or something, I don't know. Light purple
Uh-huh.
for the crown chakra.
Right. But then again, blue is the throat chakra. So
Yeah. So, but I don't know, I don't think it really matters that much as far as the color, because you don't always have to like follow the like, ooh, the chakra color
no,
scheme,
don't. No, you don't have to.
So,
You can do whatever you want.
but I continue chattering, so we'll put this meeting to an end for tonight, and we will talk to you soon, Joanna.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, good night.
Good night.